Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I can have your attention, I'd like to make an announcement. I'm Gene Culpepper. I directed tonight's play. The circumstances surrounding our production are a little unusual. See, I was very flattered with Billy St. John, who wrote Murders in the Air, as you probably noticed on your program. Heir is spelled H-E-I-R. Murders in the Air. Get it? Yes, well, as I was saying, I was very flattered when Mr. St. John contacted me and asked me to direct his play's premiere production. Actually, it was a work in progress, and he made changes and rewrites throughout the rehearsal period. Well, it was very exciting to be part of creating a brand new work. To tell the truth, quite the strain on me, the playwright, and the cast.
You got that right!
Hush, Noah. Actors should be unseen and unheard until the curtain's open. Sorry about that. The thing is, the cast and I are feeling a little nervous about tonight because, well, the play isn't quite finished. But don't worry, we're going to go on. The show must go on, as somebody once said. I don't know who said, but I'd love to get my hands around this neck. As I was saying, the play isn't quite finished. You see, it's a murder mystery, and most of the characters have great motives to kill. Well, you'll see who. The thing is, Mr. St. John couldn't make up his mind which character should be the murderer. In fact, he wrote several different endings in which the various suspects were the murderer. We performed them all for him, and he still couldn't decide. As it got closer and closer to opening night, the tension in the air, that's A-I-R, grew so thick you could cut it with a knife. It got so bad that Mr. St. John had what I feel sure will prove to be a temporary breakdown. The reason he is not here with us tonight is because he is currently under heavy sedation in a very nice place with soft walls and lots of padding. Some people have all the luck. The cast and crew and I are here, though, and we are determined to provide an entertaining show for you even if it kills us. That's just a figure of speech, of course. This brings me to my main point of my being up here, to announce that you're going out to help us. If you look at your program, you'll see that we've inserted a loose slip of paper, a ballot of sorts. As you watch the first act, you'll discover which characters have a motive to kill someone who will indeed be dead by the time the act ends. During intermission, we'll tally them quickly, and for the second act, we'll perform the scene that Mr. St. John wrote for the character that the majority of you chose as the murderer. At least, we hope that's what will happen. It got very confusing during rehearsals.
It's a wonder we didn't kill the playwright.
Hush, Evan! Look, we might as well get started. I saved myself a seat there in the front row where I could follow along with the script and help out if things get a little shaky. Which they won't, but just in case. Are you ready, cast?
As ready as we're gonna be.
Then, let's do it. Places. Lights.
Nancy, please. You know Mr. Starkweather is resting in his bedroom just through that doorway. You mustn't startle him.
I'm sorry, Miss Withers, but you startled me.
My apologies, but I dare say a slight scare will do you no harm. However, a sudden shock to a man in his 90s in Mr. Starkweather's medical condition could prove fatal. Remember that, girl.
I'm sorry, Miss Withers, but I guess this storm has made me a little edgy.
Yes, it is a tempestuous evening. I presume all the guests have been shown to their rooms?
Yes, well, all but Mr. Starkweather's grandson, young Mr. Simon III. It's a long drive from his college, and the storm, you know.
I do hope we can start without him. It's already past Mr. Starkweather's bedtime, and he must get his sleep.
I assure you, Miss Withers, the room is spotlessly clean.
I certainly hope so. Mr. Starkweather's asthmatic condition makes the merest mote of dust potentially lethal.
I've served as Mr. Starkweather's housekeeper for many years before you came here, Miss Withers. I do not need you to tell me how to do my job. You brought the coffee?
It's right here on the table, Mrs. Kent.
Then go back to the kitchen and help Minerva with the rest of the refreshments.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Starkweather gave specific instructions that he wishes to have everyone present in the drawing room by 8 o'clock sharp. I'll ask Spencerhurst to fetch the guests from their rooms.
Mr. Starkweather will be ready. I'm coming, Mr. Starkweather!
I done got all the cars parked in the garages like you told me.
As I told you. Oh, why waste my breath? You're dripping water all over the living room. I've told you 1,000,000 times, Rufus. Servants never enter through the front door.
I reckon I forgot, Mr. Bensonhurst. Besides, it's raining out there.
I'm aware of that. It now looks as if it's been raining in here as well, thanks to you.
You're welcome.
Go back the way you came and maneuver yourself around to the back door. Do you think you can handle that?
I don't know, but I suppose I'm gonna have to find out.
When the last guest, young Mr. Simon, arrives, I'll summon you to park his car for him.
Sounds great. Till then, I'll sit by the stove and see if I can grow gills.
Don't be impertinent.
How can I be if I don't know what it means?
Just do as you're told. Go to the kitchen and wait there. No, that way. Have you forgotten already? I told you to use the back door.
No, I was hoping you had.
That man is an idiot.
I heard that.
Where do you want me to put this one, Minerva?
On the coffee table. Careful with it.
I think everything is ready.
You think wrong. Put the cups on the saucer so all we have to do is pour the coffee.
Yes, ma'am.
The others are coming down. Miss Van Zandt informed me that she wishes the servant to be present as well.
He wants the servants here?
Precisely. Even Rufus. Had I been informed of that fact sooner, I would have ordered him to take a bath. He's been outside parking cars, so perhaps that will help.
If you ask me, Noah's flood wouldn't help.
Be that as it may, I shall summon him and restrain.
Why would Mr. Starkweather want the servants to be in here?
I'll pull out my crystal ball and let you know. Do you remember what I told you when you first started to work here?
Yes, ma'am. Do as you're told and don't ask questions.
Exactly. Stick to that.
I will.
Oh dear, I never know what to wear on special occasions. I suppose Uncle Simon's inviting us here as a special occasion. Isn't it, Jordan?
I suppose so, especially since most of the time he treats us like lepers.
You think Simon treats us like jungle cats?
Not leopards, lepers. Oh, forget it. Don't worry, Mother. You look fine.
Thank you, son.
I'll tell you one thing. If you ever inherit this mausoleum, the first thing we'll do is call up the Adams family, let them know it's on the market.
Counting chickens, are we?
Minerva, we didn't see you and your attractive young helper there.
Nancy's a nice girl, and I mean for her to stay that way.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
I doubt that.
I don't understand.
I believe that. Miss Fiona, why don't you take a seat over there? I'll bring you some coffee.
Coffee? That sounds nice. It's a little damp in here.
That's because it's a lot damp out there. How do you take
Mother's likes hers black. I like mine sweet. I'll flavor it myself.
Whatever.
Oh, what lovely hors d'oeuvres. These are delicious.
Glad you like them.
You're looking very pretty tonight, Nancy.
Why, thank you, sir.
Sir, that makes me feel as old as great Uncle Simon. Please, call me Jordan.
She will call you Mr. Starkweather like a proper maid should. If someone's to call you another name, it'd be me. And you don't want to know which I'm thinking.
Why, Minerva, you misjudge me. You never change.
Neither do you. More's the pity. Now take a seat next to your mother.
Yes, Drill Sergeant.
My goodness, Kathy. I don't understand how y'all can stay living out here in movies, away from fine restaurants, movies, and shopping centers. Why, I just get so depressed, I'd sit down and weep.
It's not that bad, Paula. I stay here during the week and go to my apartment in town most weekends.
I'm so relieved to hear that.
I worked for a larger corporation before Mr. Starkweather hired me as personal secretary. And believe me, this position is much nicer.
Well, look what we have here. 2 rays of sunshine to dispel the gloom. You look lovely, ladies.
I swear, Cousin Jordan, you are a rogue and a charmer.
Well, I do try my best. Won't you join us?
Why don't you take a seat over there? It'll be safer. We'll bring you some coffee.
Thank you, Minerva. I take mine black.
Both my mouth lots of cream and sugar. I must admit, I had an enormous sweet tooth.
Maybe that's what causes the corn syrup accident.
And how are you this evening, Cousin Fiona?
What? Oh, I'm fine. Thank you, Paula.
That's just peachy. I swear, I don't know why we don't see more of one another. Seems like the only time we get together for somebody's funeral.
Well, aren't all funerals for somebody?
Shame on you, Cousin Jordan. I'm glad this week is an exception to the rule. For once, no one is dead.
Not yet, anyways.
Oh, that's okay, honey. You didn't spill me.
What did you mean by that remark, Jordan?
Oh, nothing. Just that when you called us up here, at first I assumed that Uncle Simon had passed on.
You wish.
I almost started to pack my new black dress.
It was a natural assumption, of course. I mean, he is up in years and in bad health. I was relieved to find out he was still alive now.
Kathy, darling, I bet you know why Great Uncle Simon desired our presence this frightful evening. Come on, tell.
Miss Van Zandt will go into the particulars, but I believe Mr. Starkweather wishes to discuss as well.
I'd appreciate it if you don't drool on the hors d'oeuvres.
I was excited, that's all.
And where is Cousin Simon? Shouldn't he be here too?
When I contacted him last week, he said he could make it. Apparently, he's going to be late. If he's tried to call here tonight, he couldn't get through. The phone lines are down.
Well, if we're going to discuss the will, he should be here. After all, he is Great Uncle Simon's only grandchild.
Yeah, you'll probably get everything.
Excuse me a minute. Folks, I hate to interrupt. You guys are doing great. You really are. Folks, I suggested to Mr. St. John that these family relationships might be a bit confusing. He agreed and was going to write a scene that explained it all when he snapped like a rubber band. So I'll explain it to you. I think there might be a family tree in your programs too. Here's the way it works. Simon Starkweather, the old billionaire whom you'll meet shortly, married late in life and produced one heir, a son, Simon Jr. Simon Jr. in turn married and produced one heir, Simon III, the college student who's late for the gathering. The original Mrs. Starkweather, Simon II, and his wife are now deceased. Old Simon's older brother, Paul, had a daughter, Bella, who married Lucian Thompson, an Atlanta businessman, and they had Paula here. Paul, his wife, Bella, and Lucian are now deceased. Old Simon's younger brother, John, married and produced Ezra, who married Fiona here, and they had Jordan. This is Jordan, but you know that already. John, his wife, and Ezra are now deceased. I realize that's a lot of dead people, but if they had been included in the play too, it would have looked like a marching band had wandered into the living room. Believe me, it was hard enough moving everybody about the stage as it was. At any rate, Old Simon is Fiona's uncle by marriage and is Jordan and Paula's great uncle. That makes Jordan, Paula, and young Simon cousins. Second or third cousins, I guess. I don't really understand how that works. Hope that clears things up for you. Sorry for the interruption, guys. Carry on.
We haven't the foggiest notion where we are.
I'm not even sure who I am anymore.
Sorry. Resume with Evan and Casey's entrance. Nick,
Yeah?
give them their entrance cue.
What is it?
He'll probably get everything.
Who will?
Your cousin Simon.
Oh, right. Yeah, he'll probably get everything.
I'm very pleased with your investigation. I'll be glad to recommend you to my other clients.
Just doing my job, Miss Van Zandt.
Good evening, everyone.
Now, I know we haven't met yet, but I've got a pretty good idea of who you all must be. Mrs. Starkweather and her son, Jordan, correct? That's right. Mr. Davis. Call me Mike. Nice to meet you. From what Miss Van Zandt just said, you must be some sort of investigator. You got it, pal. Private kind. I see.
Who is this nice young man, dear?
He's a detective.
A detective? How exciting! Do you know Jessica Fletcher?
No, ma'am. She's wearing that. I do know who you ladies must be, though.
If you're a private investigator, I'd be surprised if you didn't.
That accent settles it. You're Paula Thompson.
You're 100% correct. I came out from the south.
Came from any deeper south who live in Central America.
That leaves you to be Kathy Collins. It's nice to finally meet you in person.
Me too, Mike. Mike and I have corresponded by mail and fax for some time on Mr. Starkweather's behalf.
Is this seat taken? No? No, right here.
And I expect you to remain unobtrusive.
Sure will. As soon as I find a dictionary and look it up.
Just sit over there by the fire and keep quiet.
Riley Fire? Glad to. My backside's still kind of soggy.
Do my best.
It follows in readiness, Miss Manson. I shall inform Mr. Starkweather.
Yes, thank you, Bensonhurst.
There's coffee if anybody else wants some.
I could use some, Minerva.
How do you take it?
In a cup. Black, please.
Still. Just saying, man. I understand that Great Uncle Simon was asked to discuss his will.
That is correct. Frankly, I did not think it was a good idea. Mr. Starkweather's health is precarious at best, and he doesn't need the excitement. I advised him to communicate with you by mail, but he insisted on summoning you to Starkweather Mansion. I only hope he doesn't live to regret that decision.
Miss Withers is bringing in Mr. Starkweather now.
Can I move now?
Go!
I'll be right here if you need me.
To think I was once surrounded by presidents and kings. Can my world have shrunk to this? A handful of relatives and a meager staff of hired help? Simon, where's my grandson?
We presume he's on his way, Mr. Starkweather.
Can't wait for him. Not enough time anymore.
You're looking well this evening, Uncle Simon.
Are you blind, boy? Or just a habitual liar?
I was only making pleasantries.
Save your breath. You've always been a smooth talker, Jordan. But that doesn't cut any ice with me. You're nothing but a greedy opportunist, boy. I ought to know. I was one myself at your age.
Then I guess it runs in the family.
You have a point. Well, Fiona, you look the same.
I do? Why, thank you, Uncle Simon.
It wasn't necessarily meant as a compliment.
Great Uncle Simon, you're just awful.
My money and with my age, I can afford to say exactly what I think, and I do. And how's my little Georgia Peach?
Little old me, I'm just peachy, Uncle.
I make barf. Would you like any coffee, Mr. Starkweather?
He mustn't have any. The caffeine could keep him awake, and it could affect his blood pressure. His medications already caused it to run a little high.
Apparently, I won't be having any Minerva. You heard my keeper.
Yes, sir.
Everyone aspires to live to a ripe old age. And for what? To be kept alive by medicines and machines? To be prevented from enjoying so much of life's little pleasures, like a cup of coffee?
You mustn't excite yourself, Mr. Starkweather.
You see, I'm not even allowed to feel any strong emotions.
Well, that's a bummer.
Ah, you put it very succinctly, Rufus. Old age is a bummer. I could have searched my vocabulary extensively and never come up with such an apt description. Bummer.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
According to my doctors, I won't have to remain a prisoner of this weak old body for much longer. There's only one thing I hate to leave behind. My money!
Well, you know what they say, Uncle. You can't take it with you.
Yes, that's what they said. So several years ago, I had Lois here draw up my will. I suppose you'd like to know how I provided for you, my heirs.
I, for one, listen to it, that I'm just a teensy bit curious.
A teensy bit, eh?
Well, I was afraid something like this would happen. Here, Mr. Starkweather, breathe deeply. See what you've done?
Hey, I didn't...
Should somebody call an ambulance?
Can't, phones are dead.
It's all right. He lost his breath. He just needs to breathe pure oxygen for a few moments.
Tell them.
Very well. This is the will Mr. Starkweather was referring to. As you know, he's been a phenomenally successful businessman for many years.
I'll say he's on the cover of Forbes magazine at least a dozen times.
Well, I never read it.
He has the distinction of becoming one of the world's first billionaires.
Nearly 20 years ago, I begged your Ezra to ask his uncle for help with his business investments, but he was too proud.
Yeah, Dad had his pride. Lots of pride. And very little money.
If I may continue, Mr. Starkweather's fortune is now within the neighborhood of $50 billion.
If I'd have known that, I would have asked for a raise.
I won't go into the details of the will, but it essentially bequeaths $1 million to each of his household staff. Mr. Bensonhurst, his butler, Miss Trent, his housekeeper, Minerva Walker, his cook, Miss Withers, his maid, Nancy Fuller, his maid, and Rufus Jones, his handyman.
Forget the raise.
Oh, Mr. Starkweather, I had no idea.
The will goes on to state the rest of the money is to be divided equally among his surviving relatives. They are his grandson, Simon III, his niece, Fiona Starkweather, and her son, who share 1/3, and his great-niece, Paula Thompson.
Isn't that nice?
I always knew you'd take care of us, Uncle.
I know you got that long married to Southern boy girl on the side, but you two must have agreed on one thing. Blood is thicker than water.
I'll bet you Miss Withers can tell you what it is.
Now that I have informed you of the will's contents, I have another announcement to make. As of tomorrow, this will becomes invalid.
What does invalid mean?
It means no good.
Oh, I got a sister that's invalid.
She means we won't be getting the money, you fool.
Oh, I guess I won't be buying that big screen TV I was thinking about then.
Sit, sit, you two, Lois.
Why did you decide to disinherit us on you?
Found a better use for my money, that's why. Oh, I don't cut you out entirely. All of you in the old will get $50,000 each.
50,000 out of 50 billion?
Lewis advised me it would be a good idea to leave you a little something. That way you'd be less likely to be able to contest my new will.
New will?
Yes, that's why I had Kathy here stay over at Starkweather Mansion this weekend. To type it up nice and legal for my signature. Mr. Davis, as a disinterested party, can witness the signing. Lois will file it at the courthouse come Monday.
Davis is a police. He's a detective. What did you hire him to do? Mr. Starkweather hired me to do an investigation on the quiet. For the past 6 months, I've flown to a dozen or more countries, meeting with some of the world's most brilliant scientists. Some well-known, others who like to keep their experiments hush-hush. I succeeded in finding one in Belgium. We'll call him Dr. X, who agreed in helping Mr. Starkweather do what he desires, which is to clone himself.
Oh my goodness.
That's insane.
What nonsense.
You must be kidding.
It's immoral.
I don't understand.
Good, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Those blood and skin samples you had me prepare? The ones that you said would be sent to specialists?
They were sent to specialists, Withers. Specialists in DNA.
I thought you were trying to find a cure.
I was. Not a cure for my various ailments, but a cure for dying. And I did find it.
Cloning?
Precisely. Through modern science, I shall live forever.
That's not right.
That's neither here nor there. Let the moralists and the politicians debate that question for decades to come. In the meantime, Dr. X, as Mr. Davis named him, will be creating a brand new me. Sit down, Withers. A lot of you seem to be displeased. Not, I suspect, because of the moral question, but because of your changing fortune. Too bad. Cloning is very expensive, especially considering the process I require must be done in absolute secrecy. But I will still have a sizable fortune left for the new me to inherit. No doubt. I will be the first person on Earth to become my own heir. My blood pressure.
That's Mr. Starkweather. If you'll excuse us, I have to go take Mr. Starkweather's blood pressure.
Why don't you take him right here?
Mr. Starkweather's arms are too frail for me to get a reading from them. This is an outsized cuff, made to go around the patient's thigh. He can stand the pressure from the inflated cuff better there. Mr. Starkweather has had enough excitement for one evening. I shall put him to bed.
I guess that concludes our meeting, unless anyone has any questions.
I do. What the heck was that all about?
It's quite simple, Rufus. You're all going to get a fortune. But Uncle Simon changed his mind. Instead, he decided to clone himself.
What does clone mean?
It means he takes some cells from one person's body and uses them to create a duplicate of the original.
They can do that?
That's great!
When the old Mr. Starkweather passes away, I'll get a job working for the new one.
I think Mr. Starkweather will have to be born and grow up. It goes against the laws of nature.
How? It has all been arranged. Once Dr. X has created the new life, the cells will be implanted into a host mother who will carry the child to term.
House mother?
Who? Me? Why not? I'm young and healthy. I'll make a great mother for little Simon.
How could you ever consider being a part of this travesty?
I'll be well compensated. Besides, have you ever known anyone else to give birth to a baby billionaire?
Uncle Simon's giving his money to a baby?
In a manner of speaking, yes. The new will places Mr. Starkweather's fortune into a trust fund, which I'll administer. I will use the money to pay Dr. X and his staff to perform the cloning procedure. After that, ample funds will be available to provide for Kathy's needs, as well as the child's upbringing and education. Once he's grown and properly trained to deal in high finance, the fortune will be turned over to him.
The kid will look, think, and act like Simon Starkweather. Theoretically, he could turn those billions into trillions by the time he's an old man.
But for what purpose? To leave it to another clone, then another and another? When will it end? When there's a Simon Starkweather with enough money and power to rule the world?
We didn't discuss it, but you might well be right.
I can't believe you condone such madness.
I can see why she would. Miss Van Zandt and the Collins girl would be living like billionaires themselves off Mr. Starkweather's money. Money that should have gone to us and his family. I guess you'd get pretty rich too since you're part of the scheme.
Not me. I did the job I was paid to do. I'll take my very generous check and go home. Quite frankly, I don't care if the bus's science fiction experiment works or not.
You should be ashamed. You should all be ashamed.
I believe you've made your feelings quite clear, ladies. If you'll excuse us, I wish to speak with all the servants in the kitchen. I trust you'll ring if you need anything.
It might be kind of nice to hear the pitter-patter of little feet running around the house.
Oh, shut up, Rufus!
Kathy and I will retire to my room. You might as well begin typing up the new will tonight. I'll direct you on how to put everything into the proper legal terms.
Sure, Lois. The sooner it's finished and signed, the better.
Hey, wait a minute. How come nobody asked me if I wanted to carry the baby? I can do it as well as she can.
Your Mr. Starkweather's blood can follow. It wouldn't be proper.
I guess it would be kind of technical.
Proper! You're about to conduct an experiment to make Frankenstein look like an amateur, and you're worried about being proper. Cool it, kid, before you burst a blood vessel. Mr. Starkweather's made up his mind, and I'm pretty sure what Simon says, people do.
Succinctly put, Mr. Davis. Kathy.
I'll go upstairs and pack. Once the witness is signing of the new will, I'll have no reason to stick around. Good night. We were robbed.
We were?
Yes, Mother. Uncle Simon dangled a fortune in front of our noses and then snatched it away.
It was me.
Me? The man is a monster. Didn't you see the evil glint in his eye? As he pulled the rug right out from under us?
Well, at least he's leaving us 50,000.
50,000 out of 50 billion. To him, that's nothing more than tossing a dime to a beggar. I wish he'd die. I wish the old goat would drop dead tonight.
It would serve him right.
If Uncle Simon were to die tonight, then that means we'd all get our money. Wouldn't we, my dears? Would anyone care for a game of bridge?
Penny for your thoughts? That's all I can pay. That's all I can afford to pay for now.
Mr. Starkweather,
It's Jordan, remember? At least when Minerva the Dragon Lady isn't around.
I thought everyone had gone to bed.
I had, but I got up for a midnight snack.
I'll fix you something.
No, wait. What are you doing though?
Mrs. Trent sent me and you to make sure the fire screen is properly closed so no sparks pop out onto the rug.
And burn Starkweather Mansion to the ground? Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea.
You shouldn't talk like that. You know Mr. Starkweather's an invalid. How can
You read my mind.
Jordan!
Ha! I got you to call me by my first name.
You mustn't even suggest such a thing. It's wicked.
And why should that surprise you? Everyone knows I'm the Blackstone family. If it happened tonight, you'd have $1,000, and I'd have billions. Think of the good times we could have together.
Don't.
Admit it. It's a tempting thought, though.
No, it's not. It's a terrible idea.
Which part? Getting the money, or you and me together?
The part about the money.
What about us?
Nancy! I thought you were going to help me with the dishes.
I was Minerva. I was just checking the patio doors to make sure they're closed.
I see. And why are you in here?
I asked him up for a midnight snack, and when I saw Nancy, I thought I'd drop by for a chat.
That appetite of yours is going to get you in trouble one of these days.
Minerva, what are you doing with that knife?
Mincing onions?
At midnight.
I can't stand to have people see me cry. I thought I heard something in here, so I came to check it out. If you're hungry, follow me. I'll get you something.
Yes, Minerva. Whatever you say, Minerva.
Once you're done checking, come give me a hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Come on.
Rufus. I thought I heard someone come in.
It was just me.
So I see. Good grief, man. What are you doing with that axe?
See, it's like this. I remember chopping some wood for the fire earlier this afternoon, before it started raining. But I forgot to put the axe back in the shed. I've been dismembering things a lot lately. When it come to me where I left it, I figured I'd better bring it inside and dry it off, so it don't rust.
Well, that's alright, but why bring it inside? Oh, never mind. I told you to use the back door. How many times do I have to tell you to use the back door?
As many as you want, I ain't counting.
I swear, Rufus, you'll be the death of me yet. Go into the kitchen and get Miss Trent to give you a towel.
Why? I ain't wet, it quit raining.
I know, to dry the axe.
Oh, right.
The back door. If that man had a brain, he'd be dangerous.
I heard that.
Any for your thoughts?
Jordan! I just came down for a brush of fresh air. What are you doing up this late?
Munchies? Want a cookie?
No, thanks.
Have you, Miss Van Zandt, finished that new will?
We sure have. It's already ready. Oh, it's all ready for Mr. Starkweather's signature. I see you've come down now. I wouldn't blame you if you hated me.
Hate you? I could never. I'd take the same position if I were in your shoes.
I'm sure you would, Jordan.
I guess Minerva's right. Having the little guy will be just as good as owning the billions herself. Aren't you forgetting something, though?
What?
The little tyke's gonna need a father figure, someone to raise and mold him into the exact replica of great Uncle Simon. A cold-hearted, money-making machine.
You think so?
I know so. And who would be a better father figure than I? You're a very attractive woman, Kathy. Let's fix business with pleasure.
Take your crummy hands off me.
What?
You're getting cookie crumbs on my blouse. And by the way, forget it. If I decide little Simon needs a father after he's born, I'll choose a suitable husband then. I don't know who he'll be, but he won't be a sleazy, money-hungry sideball like you, Jordan.
I could kill you, you witch!
I would try that if I were you, not with a detective in the house.
Aren't you finished in here yet?
I need to make everything all right.
Well, hurry up, girl, and everyone's in the kitchen.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't dawdle. Someone left the patio door open. I'll close it. Miss Thompson,
Mrs. Trent, you gave me a fright.
I suppose I should be grateful you didn't shoot me. What on earth are you doing? Roaming the house in the middle of the night with a gun in your hand.
Oh, don't worry, I know how to handle a gun. I couldn't sleep, so I thought I'd clean it. I was going down to the kitchen to look for some oil.
I doubt you'll find what you need in there unless you want to rub it with Crisco. Do you often carry that thing around with you?
Oh, I take it everywhere I go. Daddy taught me to be a crack shot when I was 10. A girl can't be too careful.
Well, I don't think you have anything to worry about at Starkweather Mansion. It's miles from the nearest town, and no one ever comes out this way.
You've never had a burglar or a prowler?
No.
Well, it's a wonder since Great Uncle Simon's so sick and all that someone hasn't tried to steal something. With his bedroom being on the ground floor, anybody could just break in those patio doors and walk right into his room and do who knows what.
Like shoot him?
Well, it could happen, as terrible as that thought is. I mean, in his condition, how could he defend himself?
He could stick news withers on them, I suppose. That should frighten away any intruders.
You're just awful, but you know what? I wouldn't want to tangle with a woman. Where does she sleep?
The room beyond Mr. Starkweather, so she can hear him if he rings his bell for him tonight.
So, if I remember correctly, my mama brought me here once when I was a little girl. That room used to be the library, and the one beyond it was the parlor. Am I right?
That's correct. When Mr. Starkweather became too ill to go up and down the stairs, the library was converted into a bedroom for him, and Withers took the parlor.
So they're the only ones who sleep downstairs?
Yes, the servants' quarters are in the attic, under the eaves. We have our own staircase from the kitchen. Why do you ask?
I'm just curious.
Excuse me, folks. I thought that section of dialogue was kind of awkward and suggested to Mr. St. John that he cut it. But he felt you needed to get an idea of the layout of the house. He said, "What do you want me to do? Put a blueprint to Starkweather Mansion in the program?" Which I thought was kind of rude. He insisted that I leave the dialogue in, so I did. But it's a bad piece of writing, and I wanted you to know that I tried to correct it. Sorry for the interruption. Carry on.
I want you to know that if you do that again, you're going to bring that little script up on the stage and play Mrs. Trent yourself.
Sorry.
That was great. I wish I had been. Where are we?
So, you're curious about the layout of the house, are you?
Oh, I'm just curious.
You know what they say, curiosity kills the cat.
Yes, well, if you'll excuse me.
Wouldn't it be ironic if someone did break in tonight, of all nights?
Miss Starkweather?
You nearly frightened me to death.
My apologies. But I asked what kind of pills you just straight out the room?
Digitalis for my heart. I have a heart condition. Maybe I should take it too.
Digitalis. Doesn't that speed up one's heart rate?
Oh yes, my little heart is just pumping away.
Then perhaps a single dose would be sufficient. I assume an overdose can be fatal.
Extremely fatal. Am I being redundant? I suppose fatal's fatal, just like dead is dead. Don't you agree?
Completely. One cannot be deader than someone else. Dead longer, perhaps, but that is the only comparison that comes to mind. Why did you bring the medication into the living room?
Why? Well, that's a very good question. Why did I bring them down here? Oh, I was going to see if Miss Withers had any free samples with her medical connections, you know.
But it looks as if your bottle is full already.
It was, but it never hurts to plan ahead. I had better pick them up.
Allow me to assist you.
Bensoners, can I ask you a question?
Be my guest.
Why are you carrying a wrench?
A wrench? Well, you see, I happen to remember that Miss Withers mentioned the gas heater in Mr. Starkweather's room was a little loose. I figured I'd go give it an extra crank or two, just to be safe.
How mechanical of you. We wouldn't want any of that to leak into his room, would we?
Naturally not, but first things first, shall we?
I feel like pigeons picking popcorn.
You missed one there.
Where?
By your left knee. Left knee.
Got it. Oh, they've rolled just everywhere.
Round objects tend to do that, madam.
Miss Withers,
Oh, Mrs. Starkweather, what are you doing on the floor with Bensonhurst?
Picking up spilled pills. I dropped my digitalis. Please watch where you put your feet, my dear. Both of them.
I assume Mr. Starkweather has required an injection. Is there a problem?
Nothing I can't handle. His lungs seem to be somewhat congested, so I took him from his bed and placed him back in his wheelchair. He can breathe easier in an upright position. Then I gave him an injection of steroids to open his bronchial passages.
My, where would Uncle Simon be without you?
Dead. Without me, his heart would have stopped beating long ago.
Wasn't there something you wanted to ask Miss Withers about?
Was there?
The digitalis.
Oh, right. Miss Withers, I was wondering if you had any free manufacturer samples of digitalis. I have a heart condition. I like to keep a supply handy.
I can see why you would. Yours tend to run out pretty quickly, don't they, Mrs. Starkweather? Well, I'm sorry. I am fresh out of spare drugs. Your uncle requires every pill he's got to keep him going.
Oh, dear. Then we better pick mine up. Will you help us, my dear?
I suppose.
Is this a private game, or can anybody join?
Mr. Davis, we're picking up spilled pills.
Is that it? I thought you were holding a tiny little marble tournament. I'll pass.
Let me give you these, Mrs. Starkweather. I really must return to my duties.
In here, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
If you'll excuse me,
Miss Withers, how's the boss?
bossy. He sent me for a pitcher of fresh drinking water, and if I'm not back in a minute, he'll start ringing his bell. See what I mean? I'll be right there, Mr. Starkweather.
I gather he rings for you a lot.
Incessantly. When he stops ringing that bell, I'll know he's in the bucket. Excuse me.
Geez, spoken like a true member of the medical profession. What's with the wrench, Bensonhurst? Got a problem I can give you a hand with?
Thank you, sir, but no, it can wait. I too shall excuse myself.
Well,
You're up kind of late, Mrs. Starkweather.
I couldn't sleep. What about you, Mr. Davis?
Oh, I'm a real night owl. Besides, I was hoping young Simon Starkweather would show up. I haven't met him yet.
Simon's a nice young boy. I do hope he's all right, though, with the storm and all, I mean.
He could have pulled off to let it pass. It is getting kind of cloudy again. We could be in for another deluge.
Oh, dear, I hope not. I should go back upstairs to my bedroom and lie down now.
Good night again, Mrs. Starkweather.
Good night.
Hi, Mr. Starkweather. Oh, you're still here.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on things.
I see. Well, my patient.
You're up too, Mr. Davis?
Apparently, I'm not the only one. It seems like more traffic goes through Starkweather Mansion at midnight than goes down the interstate at rush hour.
I know what you mean. I've been hearing footsteps go past my bedroom door all evening. I'm not surprised, though. We could have guessed that Mr. Starkweather's announcement would give his heirs a sleepless night or two.
Yeah. Between us, Miss Van Zandt, this cloning business, how do you feel about it?
I'm a lawyer, Mr. Davis. I'm paid to think, not feel. Can Mr. Starkweather be cloned? Definitely. There's no question that technology exists. Should he be cloned? Let's just say I wouldn't want to be the first to challenge nature by creating another Lois Van Zandt.
Me too. I'm a simple guy. I've got enough to worry about in one lifetime. The sooner we get the signing over with, we can get back to the real world, the better.
The new will is finished. Mr. Starkweather can sign it first thing in the morning.
The old boy's still awake. That nurse was in here a minute ago. I heard him ringing his bell for her.
In that case, there's no reason he can't sign it now.
That's what I'm thinking. People here seem to be as tense as a bunch of long-tailed cats in a room full of rocking chairs. I know all three easier once the will is signed.
I'll go up to her room and get the will. Why don't you let Mr. Starkweather know? What in the world?
The circuit breaker must have tripped.
But the storm passed hours ago.
I know. I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. I'll go find Bensonhurst and have him show me where the main breaker is.
Good. I'll let Mr. Starkweather know we're taking care of it.
Tools for trade.
It's all right, Mr. Starkweather. Mr. Starkweather.
Hello? Is anyone in here? Miss Trent, Bensonhurst, anybody?
Kathy, I think there's something wrong with Mr. Starkweather. I don't know where that nurse is.
Oh no, he hasn't signed the will yet, has he?
No, perhaps he just fainted. We need light. Mr. Davis is trying to. Mr. Starkweather!
What happened? Someone struck me.
It's Mr. Starkweather, help him!
I heard a scream.
He's dead. Somebody put the blood pressure cuff around his neck and pumped it up to the maximum. 300 millimeters of mercury. Mr. Starkweather has been strangled to death.
Mr. Starkweather would have done such a thing.
Okay, give me a break. I'd say you and everyone else in this room are right up there in the top 10 list.
Why don't we take
Keep it down. Keep it down. Let me check the bottle.
Those drops on his throat. Is it blood?
I'm not sure.
What else could it be?
I'll handle it. I'm the detective, remember? What can you tell us, Miss Williams?
After I brought him his pitcher of water and made sure he was breathing all right, I went back to my room and lied down across my bed. A few moments later, the lights went out.
I noticed that too.
He started ringing his bell for me. I was lighting a candle to go check on him when someone struck me with a heavy object. I must have blacked out. When I came to, the lights were on and...
Yeah, we can take it from there.
You seem to be in charge, Mr. Davis. What do we do now?
We keep trying the phones. If the lines aren't up by morning, someone will have to drive into town and report there's been a murder at Starkweather Mansion.
Murder?
Maybe the old man did himself in. Or maybe he didn't.
Young Mr. Simon, you made it! And boy, we have a surprise for you!
Wasn't that the most diabolical murder you ever saw? Don't you just love it? The way Mr. St. John's mind works? It's no wonder you went bonkers. Now remember, first thing during intermission, we need you to get your ballot from your program and mark the suspect you think murdered Simon Starkweather. There's a ballot box in the lobby and in here as well, in case any of you don't need to go for a drink of water or anything. Well, see you in 15 minutes. Wait, turn the lights back up. Sorry, I was making sure the cast knows what to do for the scene that Mr. St. John wrote for the character the majority chose as the murderer. Lines or actions that are clues to the character's identity. The cast will work these into the show. I just wanted you to know so that you can continue to play armchair detective and try and guess the culprit's identity. Well, I guess that's everything for now. Relax and enjoy the conclusion of Murders in the Air. Lights.
Dead. I can't believe grandfather is dead.
Well, he is Cousin Simon. He's the deadest person I ever saw.
Funny you should mention that. Bensonhurst and I were talking about the degrees of death earlier.
Mother, please.
And he was murdered.
No doubt about it. You saw the body.
Poor grandfather. If I'd gotten here sooner, maybe...
How do we know you didn't get here sooner?
What?
For all we know, you could have arrived hours ago. Parked your car out of sight, slipped into the house, and killed the lights moments before you killed Simon Starkweather.
That's ridiculous. Why would I kill him?
I'd say a third of a $50 billion fortune's a good enough reason to knock somebody off. If your grandfather had lived to sign that new will.
But I didn't know anything about the new will. I wasn't here when grandfather revealed that crazy, insane, mental cloning scheme you told me about.
It would have been easy enough to stand outside the patio doors and eavesdrop on the conversation.
Why would I hide? I was expected here. I told you what happened.
Tell me again.
All right. I had to creep along at a snail's pace on the long country road from town. Rain was lashing the windshield so hard I could barely see. The wind was snapping branches off trees and flinging them against the car. It was like driving through a hurricane. When I got to the wooden bridge that spans the stream that flows around the estate, I had to stop. The stream had turned into a raging river, and it had torn the bridge to pieces. I remembered a place about a mile from there where an old tree had fallen across the stream years ago. Actually, I used to play on it when I was a kid. I found the dead tree, and I managed to walk across it, even though the rising water had nearly covered the trunk at this point. Apparently, I got here just after grandfather was murdered.
Good story and all, but it sounds rehearsed.
Yeah, not nearly enough. It's the truth, I swear it.
Maybe, but I'm still not taking you off my suspect list.
And just who else do you have on that list, Mr. Davis?
Everyone else in this room except Miss Van Sant and Miss Collins. They had a heck of a lot to gain after grandfather lived just a few more minutes. As it turns out, they're left out in the cold.
Especially me. Lois will have other clients, but now I'm among the unemployed.
I'm sure once the estate is settled, we can afford to give you a generous severance check from the estate.
Take it out of your own portion if you like. Mother and I will pass.
So will I. Nothing personal, of course.
Of course.
Mr. Davis, what do we do now?
Simon's story reminds me. We could play some bridge.
The way I see it, we sit tight until daybreak. Then I'll have you show me the way to your car and drive me into town. I'll report what I know to the police and notify them that the bridge is there. The way I see it, the cops will fly in by helicopter. They'll need to get the body to the coroner's office, examine the crime scene, and take everyone's statements. As soon as a homicide detective is assigned to the case, I'm out of here.
But you're a detective, and you were right here when the murder occurred. You have a better chance of solving the murder than anyone else.
Sorry, now that Mr. Starkweather's dead, I'm off the payroll. Once they give the big boys my statement, I'm going home.
I'll hire you to stay. I won't have the money to pay you till I get my portion of the inheritance, but if you're willing to wait...
You know what? You're on, kid. I figure you're good for the dough. Incidentally, that offer dropped you to the bottom of my suspect list. Might as well start earning my salary.
How can we help, Mr. Davis?
First, I want to question everyone as to their whereabouts when Mr. Starkweather was murdered.
Establish everyone's alibis.
Right. I also need to know anything you and the staff might have seen or heard during that time frame, which might help us identify the murderer.
Clues.
You got it. Clues, motives, and alibis. The motives in this case are obvious. The other elements, not so much. But hopefully they will be by the time I'm done.
Sounds like a good plan to me. Whom should we start with, Mr. Davis?
Since you're paying the freight, call me Mike. How about you, Miss Thompson? You mind going first?
I'm awfully tired, but if I have to...
You don't have to, Paula. None of us do.
What do you mean, dear?
I mean, Mike here isn't a policeman. We don't have to do or say anything.
You're right, Jordan. But why would you refuse to cooperate unless you had something to hide?
Now don't start accusing me of murder unless you can prove it.
Simon does have a point. Do you want me to tell the police that everyone cooperated except you?
Fine, I'll answer your stupid questions. But first, I'm going to take Mother upstairs. She's getting up in years and she needs her beauty rest.
Why, thank you, Jordan. I'm no spring chicken anymore, but I'm not Miss Methuselah either.
Now don't get excited. Do you need your digital towels?
No, but I'm sure if I did, there's still a few under the sofa. I had a little accident with my pill bottle earlier.
I see.
Come on. If you need us, we'll be upstairs.
I assume you'll want to question everyone in private. You can wait with me in my room if you like, Mikey. I want to read over the old will since it will remain the official one.
Sure, Lois. Excuse us.
I'd like to stay. Since I wasn't here earlier, hearing everyone's statements would give me a clearer picture of what happened tonight at Starkweather Mansion.
You're the boss now. I'm particularly interested in what happened between the times that Mr. Starkweather noticed the changing of his will and the time his body was discovered.
Well, how long was that?
Several hours. Well, Miss Thompson, did you happen to notice anything suspicious in that time frame that might help us?
Well, I was very disappointed with Greg with Simon there. As you may as well imagine. I mean, I can understand why you want to clone Tom Cruise, but Great Uncle Simon? No offense, Cousin Simon, but your grandfather was not a very nice person.
None taken.
I spent most of that time in my room, but I did come downstairs once on a little errand. I was outside the kitchen door when I heard Minerva and that cute little maid, Nancy, talking.
What's the matter with you, girl? Did you leave your mind in the other room? You haven't heard a word I've said.
I'm sorry, Minerva. I'm just so confused.
About what? Is that no good scamp Jordan bothering you?
Jordan, Mr. Starkweather? What makes you think that?
When I walked in on you two in the living room, you were standing mighty close together, all lovey-dovey like. What was he saying to you?
I think he wanted me to
do something you didn't want to do?
Yes, But it's not what you're thinking.
I bet. He better stay away from you. If he tries anything, I'll cut him down to size.
Minerva, no. He's not interested in me. I heard him talking to Mrs. Collins.
Ah, I get the picture. When you lost your million, he lost interest in you, didn't he? He's following that money right along to that Collins girl, isn't he?
He proposed to her, but she laughed at him.
Good for her. Serves him right, that lazy bum.
Don't call him that.
You're hung up on him, aren't you? Don't be a fool, Nancy. He's just gonna use you and toss you aside like he's done a dozen other girls I know of.
Maybe he's ready to settle down now. If it hadn't been for Mr. Starkweather changing his wills, he'd be free to...
Free to do what?
Nothing. If we're done here, I'd like to go to my room now.
Go on. Nancy,
Yes, ma'am?
lock your door.
Excuse me. That little scene was a flashback. It showed a conversation Paula overheard before the murder. The other characters' stories, well, portions of them, will be shown in flashbacks too. Isn't that clever? Just wanted to make sure you got that. That's all.
That man is really asking for it.
So, Mrs. Trent, did you happen to notice anything suspicious earlier?
Suspicious? Well, I suppose you called toting a gun around the house suspicious, even though Mr. Starkweather wasn't shot to death.
A gun? Who has a gun?
Besides me?
Paula Thompson, that's who. Claims she's a regular Annie Oakley. She even mentioned how easy it would be for somebody to come through the patio door and kill Mr. Starkweather.
Did she now?
Ask her yourself.
Anything else?
I did happen to overhear a rather odd conversation between Rufus and Mrs. Starkweather. I had gone upstairs to distribute candles to everyone in case of a power outage, which turned out to be very useful, as you know. I was about to turn the corridor onto the west wing when I saw Mrs. Starkweather at the far end, near the stairs.
Do I have enough? Oh dear.
Leah Starkweather?
Rufus, you've scared me out of year's growth.
That's okay, ma'am. At our age, we seem to do all our growing sideways, don't we?
I certainly hope not. What are you doing with that television set? It doesn't look like a portable.
It is now. I'm borrowing it from one of the guest rooms that ain't in use.
Whatever for?
Well, you see, TV set in my room ain't working so good. The color, I mean. Every daggone channel is green. Judge Judy is green. Kim Kardashian is green. Even Gordon Ramsay is green. It looks like every channel is starring Kermit the Frog.
How disconcerting.
You can say that again, whatever it means. Are they bread mints? I won't mind if you after that crowd nerve serve the staff for supper.
Oh no, Rufus, you mustn't take any of these. These are for my heart. If you were to take any of these, they could kill you.
In that case, I'll pass. You might not want to leave them lying around anywhere, in the case of somebody eating a bunch and killing over there.
That's entirely possible.
What would you put on their death certificate? Cause of death, bad breath.
This isn't a laughing matter. I'll be careful with these. I need these pills, you see. I need every one of them.
Rufus had an axe in the house?
Yes, Master Simon. I had instructed him to chop some firewood earlier.
I'm surprised you trust him with an axe.
Personally, I wouldn't trust him with a butter knife. I was simply relaying Mr. Starkweather's orders.
Was there anything else of interest you happened to notice, Mr. Bensonhurst?
Well, just one. Earlier tonight, I was coming up from the kitchen when I saw Master Jordan enter the room to Mr. Starkweather's. His behavior was somewhat furtive. I got the impression he was going to enter when Miss Withers came out. It was apparent her unexpected appearance startled Master Jordan.
Well, what do you want?
I was just going to check on Grandpa Simon.
No need. That's what I'm paid to do.
How is he?
Still breathing, if that's what you're wondering about.
How much longer do you think he has left to live?
Let's just say he needed to start reading any long novels, or even a short story.
But you think he'll make it through the night?
I
I think Mr. Starkweather will keep his heart beating through sheer determination long enough to sign that new will. That's what you want to know, isn't it?
Why, Miss Withers, you misjudge me.
Give it a rest, Jordan. You'd love to see him drop dead just like nearly everyone else in this house.
Including you. You'd get a fortune if you dropped dead tonight.
If that's a hint, forget it. As Mr. Starkweather's nurse, I'd be the prime suspect if his death appeared to be anything but by natural causes.
Suspecting and proving are two very different things.
I'm gonna forget you said that. Good night, Jordan. It's true. Jordan Starkweather did hint that I was in a position to end his great uncle's life. I also assume Bensonhurst told you I refused.
He did, but you could have changed your mind.
And then killed him with a blood pressure cuff? That would have been foolish. Hardly what you call by natural causes.
I agree. The manner in which he was murdered wasn't very smart, whoever did it.
Well, to me, it seems like the killer was, well, flaunting the deed in our faces.
Why would they do that?
Good question. If you had to pick a likely suspect to have murdered Mr. Starkweather, who would it be?
Off the record, that Thompson girl, his great niece, is too goody-goody for my taste. Oh, those Southern girls can pour on the charm whenever they want, but Scarlett O'Hara was pretty ruthless when you get down to it.
We've been told Cousin Paula has a gun.
See what I mean? I think her and Jordan were just trying to get their hands on Mr. Starkweather's billions. I heard them talking earlier this evening. It was right after Miss Van Zandt's announcement about her will. They didn't see me in the corridor.
Well, what are we gonna do?
What can we do? It's out of our hands.
Don't be such a wimp, Cousin Jordan. That money rightfully belongs to us. There has to be a way to get it.
What if he got him declared insane?
I've thought of that, but it won't work. If cloning was such a wild theory, we probably could, but it isn't. It's been done. Great Uncle Simon's plan to clone himself might be bizarre, but it isn't insane. We'd lose the case.
Yeah, and probably spend our pittance on the lawyers.
Like that Miss Van Zandt,
She what? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking if you can't beat him, join him.
What?
Fend for yourself, Cousin Jordan. I need to go talk to that lawyer.
If you can't beat him, join him. Where could that Kathy be?
It's true. Jordan did suggest we get married. It wasn't what you call a romantic proposal, though. It was more like a business proposition.
You were going to have access to billions. What did Jordan have to offer you?
Himself, I guess. In my opinion, that fortune hunter wouldn't be worth 2 cents.
So you did turn him down.
Jordan is attractive in a smarmy sort of way, but any woman that would marry him is a fool. And believe me, Mike, I'm no fool.
I've known that since we first started corresponding.
You were smart enough to volunteer to carry grandfather's clone.
Look, Simon, once Mr. Starkweather made up his mind to clone himself, nothing was going to change it. He would have found a surrogate mother somewhere else, so might as well have been me.
I understand. I just think the whole idea was, well, creepy.
At least you're a lot nicer about than the other heirs were.
For example?
Paula, for one. She had given up hope on getting her hands on Mr. Starkweather's money.
How do you know?
I was in Lois's room with her when Paula knocked on the door and asked to speak to her. Lois went out with her to the corridor. But she didn't close the door completely, so I couldn't help but overhear their conversation.
We're very busy, Miss Thompson.
Preparing that new will?
Yes.
Miss Van Zandt, you're a lawyer. Are you sure this cloning business is legal? You could lose your license to practice, couldn't you? If
The process will be performed in Belgium, as we told you. Our laws don't apply there.
Well, what about ethics? Haven't lawyers been disbarred before for behavior that was unethical, if not illegal?
What's your point?
I want in on the deal. You can pay me from that trust fund to be the baby's nanny or whatever. I don't care what you call the position. If you refuse, I shall be forced to report you to the Bar Association. Isn't that what you call it?
It is. Let me give you a little free legal advice, Miss Thompson. In the first place, if you make any accusations against me before the cloning procedure has been completed successfully, I'll sue you for the $50,000 you're due to receive, and everything else you own, and I'll get it. In the second place, once the baby is on the way, I plan to close down my office. I shall devote all my time to Kathy and little Simon's care. At that point, it won't bother me in the least if I should be disbarred. You don't have to be a lawyer to administer an estate. Anyone can do it.
Oh,
So you see, young woman, your threats are meaningless. In fact, as an officer of the court, I should report your feeble attempts at extortion to the police.
I wasn't.
David, seek your silly southern self out of my sight, and I might be willing to forget it.
All right, I'll go. You lawyer?
Excuse me.
Yes, Mr.
I found what's left of the Christmas candles I stored away. I thought it might be a good idea to pass them out in case of a power failure. I suggest you take one and some matches to keep nearby.
That's very thoughtful, thank you. Kathy's in my room. I'll take one for her also.
Miss Thompson?
Oh, all right. I'm going to my room. There's something there I need to get.
Let's just say she's a poor loser. Miss Thompson played Harry's tonight trumpet in a manner of speaking. I'll give this to Kathy.
Now, if I remember correctly, when Kathy Collins saw Mr. Starkweather's body and scream, you ran to the front door. What did you do doing outside, Rufus?
Was I outside? Yup, I guess I was. I remember now, I had just gotten the TV set from the guest rooms because...
We heard why, Rufus.
You did? Man, news sure travels fast around here.
All the actors on your set were green.
Sure was. Looked like the Martians had landed. Anyways, I had gotten the new set from the guest room and hooked it up, but the picture didn't come in too good. It was all fuzzy like a woolly worm. I had gone outside to see if I could turn the antenna around.
On the roof?
Well, it wouldn't do much good in the basement now, would it? As I was saying, I was just about to get the tall ladder out of the shed when I heard the girl scream bloody murder. Well, murder, even if it wasn't bloody.
While you were outside, did you see or hear anything?
I saw an owl, and I heard a bunch of bullfrogs.
I meant humans.
I did see Mr. Jordan on my way in through the patio. Don't know what he was doing out there.
Earlier tonight, Rufus, did you hear anyone talking about the new will?
Who did? Old Basinghurst and Minerva didn't talk about much else. They was going on about it in the kitchen, before Mr. Starkweather croaked.
What were they saying, Rufus?
That it ain't fair, that's what. That they had worked for Mr. Starkweather all their lives, and they deserved their millions. Me, I don't care too much. I figure $50,000, give me a nice big TV. Now I think I might even give me two.
Basinghurst and Minerva?
Oh yeah, the more Minerva thought about it, the madder she got. And whew, that woman has got a temper. She was just about to storm into Mr. Starkweather's room and give him a piece of her mind.
You mustn't go in there, Minerva.
Who's gonna stop me?
I shall if necessary.
You and whose army?
Look, I totally agree with you that we are wrong, but confrontation is not the answer.
Oh yeah? Then what is?
Just have patience. Maybe he'll change his mind by morning.
We should live so long.
No, Minerva. He should live so long.
What had you been doing outside at the time of the murder, Mr. Starkweather?
Just getting some fresh air. Anything wrong with that?
Not if you remained outside.
What are you trying to say, Mike?
When I made a cursory examination of Mr. Starkweather's room, I noticed that Miss Withers had left his window open a couple of inches, to let in some of that fresh air. Would have been easy enough for someone to slip in.
Are you accusing me of murdering Uncle Simon?
Calm down, Mr. Starkweather. I'm not accusing anybody yet.
Besides, Cousin Jordan, from what we've heard, it seems that trying to con someone else into doing your bidding is more your style.
And who told you that?
I'll ask the questions, if you don't mind. I repeat, what had you been doing outside?
If you must know, Catherine and I got into a little disagreement. I blew up and I went outside to cool off. Or have you already heard?
I question, you answer. Remember, let me ask you this. If you didn't kill Mr. Starkweather, who do you think did?
I'm not saying she did it, but have you questioned that little maid Nancy? The girl has a crush on me. I know I've heard of the ladies a lot, but I did nothing to lead her on. I knew she was upset about losing her own portion of the will, and would be even more upset about me losing mine. I was wandering around the house when I was outside the door. I heard Nancy talking to Miss Withers. This is what they said.
Can I do something for you, Miss Withers?
I needed fresh water to put by Mr. Starkweather's bedside. I got it.
That poor man, when he had the attack and lost his breath in the living room later, I realized what you meant before when you said the smallest shock proved to be fatal.
Exactly.
The slightest shock. His bell.
I must go.
Yes, we wouldn't want anything to happen to him, would we? I was shocked to be told that Mr. Starkweather had included me in his will. I didn't even think he noticed I existed.
So you must have received two surprises tonight. First, to be told you'd be receiving a fortune, and then to be immediately told it's being taken away from you.
3 surprises, actually. Now you're wealthy again.
Oh, Mr. Starkweather, I was pleased to be told that your grandfather would be giving me $50,000. With that, I could go to college, like you, and get a good education.
Now you can do anything you want, Nancy. What do you want to do?
I don't know. I haven't been thinking about myself much.
Who has been on your mind, Nancy? Jordan Starkweather, perhaps? You're quite fond of him, aren't you?
Who told you that?
Cousin Jordan himself, for one. He implied you might even have been willing to kill for him.
He what? How can you say such a thing?
I'm sorry to hurt you, Nancy, but now you see what Jordan's really like. He's out for himself, and he'll trample anyone who gets in his way.
I guess I knew that. Whenever tried to warn me. I even heard him propose to Mrs. Collins, but she rejected him, then later laughed about it when she was telling her friend Miss Van Zandt. I was thinking first trials to the guest rooms later when I heard them talking. You think Jordan is cold-hearted? Well, Mrs. Collins is just as bad as he is.
Can you believe it? Those soulful gazes might work on an innocent young thing like that maid Nancy, but he learned quick enough that I'm no pushover.
I wish I had been there to see it. It's time Jordan met his match. I could tell Nancy about some of the maids who worked here before her. His Playboy days will be over soon enough, though.
What do you mean?
Up until now, Mr. Starkweather has given Jordan, as well as Fiona, Paula, and young Simon, a generous allowance. Once he passes on, the $50,000 bequest will be the last they get of the Starkweather fortune. He'll have to learn what it's like to work for a living.
Simon's almost out of school. He'll do fine. But the others, they'll go through the money in no time. Then what kind of job can they get? Can you picture Paula behind the desk of a car rental agency?
Or Jordan driving cars out of the lot for customers?
And what will Fiona do? Sell Avon?
Can I get anything for you, Cousin Fiona? A glass of water?
No, thank you, dear. Mr. Davis, I can assure you that my Jordan couldn't have done, oh dear, what was done? To Uncle Simon. He was with me in my room all night.
Now, Mrs. Starkweather, you know that can't be true. Jordan himself told us that he was outside. And I saw you in here earlier with Miss Withers and Mr. Bensonhurst.
Oh dear. Maybe it was last night he sat with me.
Maybe it was.
Now I know why Jessica Fletcher never believed the suspects of murder she wrote. It's just so easy to get confused.
Concentrate on tonight, Mrs. Starkweather. Do you recall seeing anything suspicious?
Suspicious? Well, I saw Uncle Simon's body with that horrible thing around his neck. I'd call that suspicious.
He might means before, Cousin Fiona.
Before? Let me think. I don't know if this is the kind of thing you mean, but...
Yes?
It was right after we were told about the new will, and it all gone upstairs. I was walking past that secretary's door when I had heard her and the housekeeper inside. They were talking quite loudly, so I couldn't help but overhear.
What are you doing in my room, Mrs. Trent?
I was checking all the guest rooms to make sure there are extra blankets in each. I suppose you're very pleased with yourself, Miss Collins.
Why do you say that?
It all worked out just to do a plan.
I don't know what you mean.
I think you do. I understand now why you left all those magazines lying around where Mr. Starkweather would see them. You've done it for months now.
What magazines?
Don't play dumb. Those news magazines and scientific journals. I've seen them. and they all had one thing in common: articles about cloning. I didn't realize it until tonight, but now it's obvious what you were doing. You claimed the idea that Mr. Starkweather's had to clone himself.
And what if I did? There's no laws against sharing ideas, are there?
I'm sure your lawyer friend would say no, since you're in this together. That doesn't mean it's right. I think what you're planning to do is disgusting.
To be perfectly frank, I couldn't care less what you think. Get out!
Starting to give orders already, are you? I'll leave. But remember one thing, young lady. You are not the queen bee yet, and you won't be until Mr. Starkweather's name is on the dotted line. Assuming that ever happens.
Kathy told me about Miss Trent's accusations, that she engineered the cloning business, possibly with my help. Apparently, Mrs. Starkweather reported the conversation accurately, which is something of a surprise.
Is it true? Did you and Kathy give grandfather the idea to clone himself?
I don't think that's relevant to the case at hand, Simon. Even if we did, we weren't breaking any laws. Don't you agree, Mr. Davis?
No laws that I can think of.
Then shouldn't we focus on the law that was broken? I'm referring to the murder, of course.
You are right, as usual, Miss Van Sant. Can you volunteer any information that might help us?
I will tell you this. Earlier this evening, I went to the kitchen to ask Minerva for a pot of coffee. It was apparent that Kathy and I were going to be working late, and I thought the caffeine might help us stay awake. Minerva wasn't there, but Rufus was. I heard him talking to Colonel Starkweather. The conversation was very peculiar.
Good heavens, Rufus, what are you doing with that axe?
I brought it inside from the wood pile. Sharpened it up to sharpen it up real good. Dried it off, became more sick.
Goodness, no, put it away.
I probably better, before it hurts somebody, or worse, even kills them.
That's a horrible thought.
Ain't it though? I get those sometimes, don't you?
I
see you still got your poison pills.
Digitalis isn't a poison, it's a stimulant. You just have to be careful not to take too many, that's all.
You had a lot more in that bottle when I saw you upstairs. Oops. I hope you haven't gone and overdosed. I think I can figure out that mouth-to-mouth stuff.
Bring those lips any closer and I'll snatch that axe out of your hands and chop them off.
Okay, Miss Starkweather, just try to help.
Well, don't. Some fates are worse than death. I assure you, however, that I am fine. I dropped the pills earlier in the living room and wasn't able to find them all.
I sure hope Minerva don't find none. She fixes Mr. Starkweather's meals and she's mighty angry at him right now.
What are you suggesting?
Oh, nothing. Was there something you needed in the kitchen?
I was looking for Minerva to see if she had any of those lovely hors d'oeuvres left over.
I can look.
No thanks. I seem to have lost my appetite.
Mr. Starkweather's meals? What do you want to know about them?
Who did he dine with? Did he eat the same food as everyone else?
Mr. Starkweather was on a very strict diet. Low salt, low fat, so I had to prepare his meals separately. Why do you want to know? Do you think there's something wrong with my cooking?
No, ma'am. That leg of lamb you served last night was terrific.
Yes, well, I've often been told I have terrific legs. So what's the problem?
Nothing. Never mind. You told me what I need to know. Changing the subject. Do you happen to remember who was in the kitchen earlier when the lights went out? Before I got there, I mean.
The blackout? I'm not sure. Let me think. I was in the pantry checking supplies for breakfast. When the lights went out, it took me a moment to get the candle out of my pocket and light it.
Minerva, Nancy, is everyone all right?
I'm here, and I'm fine.
I was in my room when the lights went out. What happened?
Basically, forgot to pay the light bill.
Keep that up and not forget to pay your wage.
What in blazes is going on?
I guess the storm knocked out the electricity. My candles did come in handy, you see.
Remind me to give you a gold star later. Bensonhurst, can't you get the electricity back on?
That's what I came to find out. Mr. Bensonhurst?
The circuit breaker is right over there.
I hope they hurry. I don't like the dark.
Like quick it up for you? I'll get back to my children.
Why do you have to come in here? You got water all over my clean floors.
Why Mr. Starkweather doesn't fire him, I'll never know.
Look.
It was there, all right. I just wish we had more. Should be enough to pinpoint a murderer, though. Could take weeks to get the results. If the new will is probated before then, and the killer gets his or her inheritance, it could disappear for good. You can buy a new identity easy enough for $1 million or more.
I was hoping we'd learn more from questioning the suspects.
Me too. They were so busy trying to make each other look guilty, they didn't really reveal much about themselves. Sometimes the slightest... Simon, move your feet.
What is it?
Here, on the rug. I think it's... Yes, what they were doing was so insignificant, I hardly noticed it at the time. Simon, I know who murdered your grandfather.
Who?
I'll tell everyone as soon as I gather the evidence. Go find Bensonhurst and tell him I need to see everyone in here immediately.
Yes, sir.
Minerva sent me in here to see if you'd like a pot of coffee.
Never mind that. Go upstairs and tell everyone there to get down here on the double.
Okay.
I don't think the police chief will mind if I use plastic bags to gather evidence. I don't think he'll mind at all. Please, everybody, please, find a seat.
It's very late these days, or very early, depending how you look at it. If no one else is going to ask, I will. Why'd you call us all together at this hour?
It is quite late, isn't it? I'm sure you're all very tired. I know I am. But I felt you'd sleep easier knowing who killed Simon Starkweather.
You mean you discovered you killed your Uncle Simon?
I believe I have, which I'm going to show you in the next few minutes.
I'm amazed, Mike. How did you figure it out?
First, I had to find the answer to a question that had bothered me from the beginning. Would have been easy enough to make it appear as though Mr. Starkweather died of natural causes, a suggestion Jordan made to Miss Withers earlier. For example, Mrs. Starkweather or her son could have given him some of her digitalis to trigger a heart attack, as could many of you who were aware that she had spilled several on the floor in here earlier. Miss Withers could have achieved the same result by injecting an air bubble into his bloodstream with a hypodermic needle. Again, any of you could have stolen a needle from a room and done the same thing. It's also highly probable that some of you considered frightening the old man's bed. Miss Thompson with her gun, Mr. Bensonhurst with his wrench, Minerva with her knife, or Rufus with his axe. The possibilities are endless. So why then would the killer choose to put a blood pressure cuff around his neck and inflate it until he's strangled to death? The answer's so simple, I feel foolish for not realizing sooner what must have really happened.
Might want to ask what that is.
Obviously, when the blood pressure cuff was put around his neck, Mr. Starkweather was already dead.
What?
Isn't that right, Miss Van Zandt?
You really are very clever.
It had to have been you. We were in here together when the lights went out. Mr. Starkweather began to ring his bell, I went to find Bensonhurst, and you went to check on Mr. Starkweather. His killer must have murdered the man and slipped into Miss Withers' room seconds before you found the body.
That's what I figured too.
But why would you put the cuff around his neck?
As our able detective here has surmised, the murderer made it appear as though Mr. Starkweather had a heart attack. It does seem to have in that case been due to natural causes. There is no doubt in my mind, however, that someone in this house had killed him. I knew that under the circumstances, the coroner would have no reason to perform an autopsy on the body, nor would the police conduct an investigation. I wasn't about to let my employer's murderer get away scot-free. I noticed the blood pressure cuff on the bed and decided to put it around his neck and inflate it before wheeling him into this room.
And your plan worked. No one would question the fact that he had been murdered.
So, young Mr. Simon hired Mr. Davis to find the killer.
Which I have. It was very naughty of you, Miss Van Zandt. For a while there, your little ploy distracted me from the main problem. Instead of wondering who did it, I kept wondering why did they do it that way. Once I solved that piece of the puzzle, the rest came easier.
Sorry, Mr. Davis, but if you've discovered the killer's identity, then the end seems to have justified the means.
I'm sure the police will agree, and they may even be willing to overlook the fact that you're guilty of tampering with evidence at the crime scene.
If not, I'm on very good terms with the local judges.
Wait, how do we know she didn't do it herself?
No motive.
Oh, right.
Don't keep us in suspense, Mike. Tell us who did kill Mr. Starkweather.
I'll do better than that. I'll show you. Please, bear with me. Please, remain seated.
What?
I'm sure you all still have the candles that Mrs. Trent distributed earlier for the blackout. Take them out, please, and light them.
Ooh, isn't this nice? Very Christmassy.
When I examined Mr. Starkweather's body, I found what I first thought were a few drops of blood on his bathroom. Upon closer inspection, they turned out to be another substance entirely. I forgot about it for the moment. While I was interrogating you individually, I noticed one of you scraping one thumbnail against the other. At the time, I took it to be a nervous gesture. I guess you could say it was nerves triggered by guilt, as it turns out. I didn't realize the significance of this gesture until I recalled Minerva's testimony. She reminded me of those of you who gathered in the kitchen earlier with candles when the lights went out. A few moments ago, I noticed these on the floor by the sofa, and I had the link I needed to identify the murderer. Thin scrapings of red tallow. Tallow from the killer's thumbnail. Tallow from the candle that she, my apologies, was wearing, holding. I cannot speak, my apologies, folks. When she killed Simon Starkweather. Tallow from the one red candle among you, which you were holding, was Thompson.
Are you certain this is the only red candle?
There aren't. I remember thinking when we took them down after Christmas that we'd have to buy more red ones for next year.
Is this the only evidence you have to offer the police? This candle?
No, Miss Thompson, I have better evidence than that. I just examined Mr. Starkweather's body. As I was walking about the room, I glanced at everyone's hands. I happened to notice several very thin scratches on your wrist, made by Mr. Starkweather, no doubt, as he struggled for his life. I'd be willing to bet my reputation that these skin samples I was able to scrape from underneath his fingernails came from you. Would have been easy enough to prove, as I've met quite a few experts on DNA testing in the last 6 months.
Bravo, Mr. Davis.
Well,
I don't suppose you consider cloning those scrapings and putting the new meat in prison, would you? I didn't think so. Well, Miss Van Zandt, I guess my biggest mistake was trying to cross a lawyer. I may have caused you to lose access to Mr. Starkweather's billions, but you definitely got your revenge.
why don't you tell us what happened?
I might as well. You figured out the main details anyway. I was furious with Great Uncle Simon for building up our hopes and then dashing him to the ground. I thought a man that cruel didn't deserve to live. So I listened at his door in the hallway and crept inside when I was sure he was alone. He was sitting in his chair, still awake. So I went over to him, gripped the handle of his wheelchair, and leaned right down to his face. I told him what he was planning to do was monstrous. I told him that he didn't deserve to live. I told him that I was going to kill him. Then I reached for his throat. He wheeled backwards in his chair, terrified. He slammed into the bedside table. The impact sent the reed lamp crashing to the ground, and the pitcher of water right on top of it. When the water hit the lamp, it short-circuited and blew the circuit breaker.
So you didn't cause the blackout deliberately?
No, it nearly ruined everything. But I had the candle matches in my pocket. I managed to light the candle with one hand and grab the oxygen mask with the other. I cut the mask hard down over his nose and mouth. He couldn't breathe, of course. He made a feeble attempt to fight back with one hand while he rang that bell with the other. But all you managed to do was cause a few insignificant scratches on my wrist, which you noticed. That caused me to spill a few drops of candle wax on his robe. I don't know if he died of suffocation or a heart attack, but it was all over in seconds. The old man wasn't able to do much, but I guess it was enough to pin his murder on me.
And then?
And then I put the oxygen mask back in his chair, blew out my candle, and put it in my pocket. I slipped through the connecting door to Miss Wither's room. Her back was to me, and she had just managed to find her candle in his lap. So I grabbed the brass candlestick from her bureau and struck her over the head with it. She crashed to the ground. I guess this is when you turned my apparent natural then into apparent murder, Miss Van Zandt. Anyway, I slipped from her door into the hall. A few moments later, Kathy screamed, and I joined the rest of you who ran in here.
You must have been just as shocked as everyone else to see the blood pressure cuff around Mr. Starkweather's neck.
I was, but what could I do? I would have loved to kill you two for almost ruining everything. But I didn't dare try. Until now.
No!
I don't have anything else to lose now, do I?
Don't anybody go there.
You don't want to do something you might regret.
It's too late for that advice now, Mr. Davis. Get up, you're coming with me.
The bridge is washed out. Where could we go?
I know where that fallen tree is that Simon mentioned in his story. Simon, throw your car keys on the table.
They're already in the car. They're at the bridge.
Get away.
I think I might. The phone lines are still down, all your cars on this side of the street. It would take you hours to walk to the nearest town and notify the police. By then, I'll be long gone.
What about me?
I would have committed the perfect murder if it wasn't for you. What do you think I'm going to do with you?
Not a thing if I can help it.
Pull her right there.
You burned me.
Consider a preview of the afterlife.
Always keep these with me. Never know when hustle can handle it. Let's have it.
Mike, remind me to pay you a big bonus.
No problem. You're going to be spending a long, long time behind bars. What do you have to say for yourself?
Do you think the prison has a chapter of the DAR?
Sorry about this, but I better see what it's all about. It's from Mr. St. John. Since he just came to from a drug-induced coma, and when he awoke, a fantastic solution to the plague was crystal clear. Oh my, really? Yes, it's brilliant. It's better than any of the possible conclusions came up with before. You simply have to see it. It'll take a few minutes for me to go over the changes with the cast, but I'm sure they can handle it. Oh, I see some clues that need to go in the first act, so I guess we'll have to do the whole play again.